Can I tell you one thing that drives me crazy?
Yeah.
Is every film school that you go to, they always teach cinematography. And they say this, it's a visual medium. It is a visual medium. But if you think about the history of cinema and how many great film directors were cinematographers, not very many, actually.
Most directors, like, I'm friends with Richard Linklater. He's never been on a set that he wasn't directing. I mean, maybe he stopped by one, but he's never. So he doesn't really know what other film sets are like. Peter Weir doesn't know what a Richard Linklater film set is like. And he just knows his own ethics and his own way of working.
If you think about, in the history of cinema, how many great filmmakers are, and this is going to sound self-aggrandizing, I don't mean it, it's going to get a laugh. Yeah, I really mean this. Are actors, it's a lot. Woody Allen, Orson Welles, Spike Lee, Warren Beatty, Robert Redford, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, understanding acting and directing are the same.
It's hard though, because as soon as you start comparing yourself to other people, you're lost, really. You have to just find your own voice and hope by osmosis the good stuff gets in and the bad stuff leaves you.
You got to be surgical up here. Rehearse, think, talk with your people, trust your collaborators. If they're telling you something's wrong, they're not trying to screw with you. There was a time when you really wanted them to join this project, right? And it's because you thought they were smart. So listen, and if you can't convince them, then maybe your idea's wrong.
But what I was trying to say really is that I've learned more from the bad directors I've worked with than the good ones.
I saw those clips of Ethan Hawke and thought that's a very interesting observation. So many great directors have come from acting backgrounds.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York.
Actors directing has been a familiar sight in the theatre since theatre's inception, and the three big comedians of silent screen, Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, would all direct, the latter owning his own studio where he could spend years crafting material before release.
As for you, you ought to have your head examined. Sending him a letter telling him he's fired with a $25,000 check in it. What kind of firing do you call that? You did send him a check for $25,000, didn't you?
Orson Welles was the first big actor, writer, director of the sound era.
But how many actors are really producers?
Orson Welles?
Very good. Orson Welles, unfortunately, has not proven successful in that direction.
I disagree with you totally. I think The Magnificent Ambersons and Citizen Kane were two of the finest pictures I've ever seen. I saw The Magnificent Ambersons again the other day, and it seemed to me to be by far one of the most wonderful pictures I ever seen in my life.
I happen to like Orson tremendously.
For what?
I think Orson Welles is a very brilliant director. It's all I find with Orson Welles, and I have told him so many times. He thinks he's a writer. He is not a writer.
I think
I don't care how good a producer he is or director. He must respect the story.
everything. I think he's a wonderful writer.
Never can I agree with you on that point at all.
Then we must beg to differ.
Would you employ Orson Welles, Mr. Gelvin, as a director?
Yes, as a director, but not as a writer.
But do you agree? But Sam, do you agree that The Magnificent Ambersons was a very finely written and directed picture?
Yes.
I believe Orson did both.
Yes, I do.
Do you agree?
I do.
After making the film Lady from Shanghai with Orson Welles, an executive, and I'm sorry to say I can't find their name, but whoever they were, they said, "I would never hire an actor, writer, director again, as there's no one you can fire."
This is Alfred Hitchcock speaking.
Alfred Hitchcock was known for making appearances in his movies. It became such a signature of his filmmaking that the audience would miss important plot points because they were hunting for him in the background of shots. But these weren't proper character roles, it was basically just background artist or extra work. But a lot of directors, possibly as a nod to Hitchcock, would cameo in their own movies.
Did I tell you to do that with the meter? Put the meter back. Let the numbers go on. I don't care what I have to pay. I didn't say I'm not getting out. Put the meter back on. Put it down.
Martin Scorsese stepped into this memorable role on Taxi Driver because the cast actor had to pull out at short notice, and the notoriously camera-shy Terrence Malick was forced to make this cameo in Badlands when an actor failed to turn up.
Well, I'd like to leave a message, if that's okay.
Sure.
John Landis would often use directors in supporting roles in his films. In Into the Night alone, we have the director of It Came From Outer Space, Jack Arnold, Paul Bartel, the director of Eating Raoul, David Cronenberg, Jonathan Demme, Australian director Richard Franklin, Fast Times at Ridgemont High director Amy Heckerling, Jim Henson, Colin Higgins, the director of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, director of the brilliant western Silverado, Lawrence Kasdan, plus Paul Mazursky and Don Siegel.
If Mindy's eyesight is going to be restored, she might like to see tomorrow evening's dinner time movie at 6 on 6. Tomorrow evening's film is See You Next Wednesday, starring Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed, and Stymie Beard, in an action-packed war drama of defrocked missionaries in the Belgian Congo.
John Landis himself would play the lead role in his first movie, Schlock, and as a result had to direct much of the film whilst dressed as an ape. He also appeared in the Steven Spielberg film 1941 as the dust-covered motorcycle driver.
Can I help you?
And Spielberg would appear in John Landis's Blues Brothers as the office clerk who would deliver the movie's final spoken line.
And here is your receipt.
In the Steven Spielberg film The Fabelman, director David Lynch has a small but pivotal role as the movie director John Ford. But Lynch had appeared in other movies as an actor besides from his own, like the Isabella Rossellini drama Zelly and Me.
I should get another job. That's what I should do. I should get another job right away, but it isn't easy. I don't know anybody in America but Mrs. Plainfield and you. I'm going to be missing our little meetings.
Martin Scorsese would take a significant role in Robert Redford's movie Quiz Show, and would even voice a pufferfish in Shark's Tale.
Is that it? That all? We done?
David Cronenberg has taken many acting roles, but my favourite is the hard-to-find Canadian indie drama Last Night.
So, how goes the battle?
Fine. Good. Good old computer.
In doing research for this video, I have noticed a pattern in directors who also act.
I leave them alone, the actors. That really is good. Get good actors and then let them be good. I'm serious. Ralph Fiennes said that the directing he got on Spider was the least directing he ever got on any movie he made. And I took that as a huge compliment.
This is Chaz Palamitri talking about working with Woody Allen on Bullets Over Broadway.
You know, people always go, how's it working with him? You know, Woody doesn't talk.
Huh.
He doesn't talk to the actors. And people, if you're not secure as an actor, it's very, you know, you have to be secure because you walk around, everybody goes, is he like me? Is it okay?
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk. In fact, I always tell other actors who come to me and say, hey, I'm going to be working with Woody. I said, if he doesn't talk to you, you're doing great.
Right.
If he talks to you, you're in trouble.
And here is any number of people talking about Clint Eastwood.
He gets out of everybody's way.
He would just do your thing, shoot it, and then he'd go, that was great, just on this take, just acknowledge the jury. That's all I need you to do. I go, do you have anything else? He goes, no, how did you feel? I go, I felt great. He goes, all right, you want another one?
That other movies, they make a big deal about action, you know. All right, start it up, get ready, everybody. We're rolling, are we rolling? We're rolling, we are rolling, people. And everybody, stand by, and action! That's what most movies are. All right. Clint goes like this, and everybody else goes like this, which means you're rolling, and then he's standing right next to you, and he says, okay, go ahead. And then you do it. And maybe he'll say, just take that again, just do it again. And then you do it, he says, all right, that's enough of that. And that's it. And I said, what's the deal? Why did that come from? And he said, when he was doing Rawhide, right. He had all these old movie directors who just loved the megaphones and the attention, and they did the same. So he and all the other cast of rawhide are on their horses, and they're supposed to do something, have a conversation, and that whole build-up to action would make the horses go like this, and had to turn around. And so one day he said, you know, in his indomitable way, is there any way that you could just, you know, just tell us to go instead of saying action, so the horses won't flee? So one guy did it once, but they love the action.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he never even says action or cut. I mean, it's like one of those things. He goes, "Okay, so you got the scene. You know how it is. We just walk around a little bit. No acting allowed. Just let's find it where we're gonna do it. Okay, we got that. Yeah, whenever." And then when the scene's over, the actors just keep going and going and going because he didn't yell cut. And he goes, "Okay, let's not make a meal of it." And that's it. We move it on.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous when I did my first scene with him, but he's so gentle and kind, and he's an actor as well as a wonderful director, so he knows us. And he, you know, when I was working on the press conference scene, I was trying to, you know, work on my emotion, and he noticed a few people coming over, and he said, leave her alone, you know, and I really appreciated that, you know.
Clint Eastwood has been known to get amazing performances out of some difficult actors. This is him talking about Gene Hackman.
And he was in a mood at that time. He says, I don't want to do any more violent pictures. I'm tired of it. I've been involved with a lot of them. He says, I'm really tired of it. And I said, you know, I know exactly where you're coming from, but read it again because I think we can make a great statement against violence and killing if we do this right. Of course, it's all in the execution. You got to execute it right, or else it's nothing means anything then. But so he did. He reread it and he came back and said, "Yeah, okay, I'll do this."
And this is Clint sharing his experiences with a director whose films I really like, but is not a performer themselves, Wes Anderson.
Well, Gene, I've worked with Gene, and the same thing. But he's so ready to go. He's so prepared. That the first scene I ever did with him was with Morgan Freeman and Gene, both excellent actors, and I got about 2 lines into the scene, and I thought, this is a mistake that this camera is not running right now. So I said, stop for a second, and I just go like this, get the thing, okay, now go ahead, you guys rehearse so much as you want, and I just followed him around. Okay. But he's the kind of guy that loves to be left alone.
Yeah. He loves to be left alone, and he is the kind of guy where you take one, wow,
yeah,
that was great.
Take one,
yeah. The problem is if you say, wow, that was great. What about you know what we could do also? Then you start going downhill.
Yeah.
In terms of
No.
Not that he goes downhill. Just that what he actually really wants. What I feel like he wants to do is do it great immediately and move on. And you know, he's somebody who you can do that.
Yeah, you can do that with him. So it's spoiled. So he gets annoyed when people are indecisive.
I think there is a good case to argue that Clint Eastwood is the great American film director. I know people speak highly of Stanley Kubrick, but most of his films were made in the UK.
And you have a tea break. This is a fresh tea break. He came out. But if you had a tea break at 4, you don't have to break for this tea break. This must just be a complimentary tea break. If you broke for tea at 4, you don't have to break for tea at 6, at 6:45, then break for a meal at 7:30. So figure it out.
At the age of 94, Clint Eastwood is directing his 40th feature film. And if we look back on all those movies, how many of them were duds? Space Cowboys wasn't his best work, but I wouldn't call it bad. The Rookie wasn't A grade, but it had its moments. The only one, of the ones I've seen, which I would advise people to give a miss is the 1517 from Paris. It's the true story of 3 very brave men, but someone thought it would be good if they played themselves in the movie. And none of them can act. But if that's the low point of your career, you're doing very well.
My theory in directing actors is to not insert the ego. I've worked with, having come up in that side of the business, I'm very, very sympathetic to the securities and insecurities. The securities that are necessary and the insecurities that are unnecessary to make a good performance. And so what I do is I let the actors bring a lot to the table. When they bring something that's good, it's fine, and when they bring something that's not quite so good, I make adjustments to it.
The thing I believe you get from a director who knows what it's like to be in front of a camera is a respect for what the performer can bring to a scene. Over-directing is no different from micromanagement. And if you've ever had a boss hovering over you, no matter what your job is, you'll know how horrible that is.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I have set up a Ko-Fi account, which means if you've enjoyed this video you can send me the price of a coffee. You're under no obligation, but it will encourage me to make more content. You can do what you like with that information. There's a link in the description. I'm Scott Kingsnorth, and I'm making a movie.